Erin, good night, good morning, good afternoon. How you
I
doing?
don't know. I'm doing good. It has been a really rough week, but I am so glad that it is Friday evening. And yeah, this is a good start to a weekend. Nothing that I would rather do than talk to friends about these wonderful topics.
All right, then without delay, three, two, one. Hi, my name is Terry Lovelace. This is the Devil's Den. Tonight we have Jason Bland from Paranormal Soup, and he's going to tell us about shadow people and about a camping trip with a lot of eerie similarities to mine. So this is good, I promise. So welcome, Jason. It's nice to have you here.
It's good to be here finally.
Nice,
that
nice
I
to
have
be fun to be
found
on
some
the other
time.
side of the mic for a change.
Yeah, I feel I'm a horrible guest, so we'll see. I'm trying to be the best guest I can, being a host. I know, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't. People say, "Oh no, you're a great guest. You're interesting." I'm like, I always feel like I'm the host. I'm not as interesting as the guest.
Well, we're pretty laid back here. If we were any more laid back, we'd be unconscious. So, hi, Erin. How are you doing?
I am doing good. I am doing good.
You've been on Jason's show once before, haven't you?
Yeah,
I was one time and I absolutely enjoyed it. I had a blast on your show, Jason. It was fun.
we'll definitely have to
And
do it again.
yeah, and you called me smart, so that was cool too.
Usually, I call the guests dumb and stupid all the time.
Oh man.
You were special.
So I am special.
No, I don't.
Well, I'm going to jump in here and start with what would you rather cover first? I see you got two really interesting areas to cover, and that is kind of like the amazingly similar experience to what I had. I mean, kind of
Right.
spooky experience, and then you've had like shadow people and ghost
I've
stuff.
had weird experiences all my life. Like I say
welcome
I'm
to
not
the club.
interesting, but I've had all these weird things to me I've thought were just normal weird things that I found out not a lot of people have experiences with. So knowing that now, I guess I do have an interesting life somewhat, because I've seen a lot of things nobody's ever seen before. And I guess I should feel special for that. As for the camping trip, if you want to start there, we can, because that's kind of how we got introduced. Basically when I read your book, Incident at Devil's Den, it brought out, like I said, just start. Okay. I've always been into weird. I've always believed in the paranormal. From a very young age, one of my earliest memories is being like 4 or 5 years old with my cousin Phil, and we saw a green floating head fly through a room, and I could hear it screaming and wailing. He couldn't, which is an interesting story, but he remembers it. I remember it. Wasn't a dream. We were only 4 or 5 years old, and we both remember it. I remember when I brought it up to him, he got white as a sheet because he's like, I thought that was a dream. I'm like, no, that was real. We both saw it. He goes, I just wrote it off as a dream the whole time, which I would find that interesting because a lot of people might have paranormal experiences, and when they're in their childhood, it's still in there. It's still in their mind, but it's a memory, a dream. It didn't really happen, but I never let go. I knew from the age of 4 when I saw that was real. And everything everybody else is telling me, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Because if there can be green floating heads, there can be a lot of different things. That's why I loved Ghostbusters as a kid. I loved anything sci-fi fantasy. I think that moment there, it epitomized me that anything could happen. Anything's possible. So thinking, me having that experience and many more after that, and there's the whole shadow person experience included, which ties into this, that I would not think about something that happened to me on a camping trip that was, now that I look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, that should be questionable. How I just ignored it, I find so interesting.
Yeah.
What brought it out was reading Incident at Devil's Den. It made me think about it because, it's just the scene of you being on that camping trip with Toby, and that happened. I didn't have anything nowhere near that incredible, and I still question what it is. But reading your book, the emotion of it, the truth and honesty of it, and the way the similar to I see you went a long part of your life without looking at it.
Yeah.
like you're wired not to. It brought me back to looking at this, open this up to me. And then I saw connections to this camping trip to things like my shadow person experience. I'm like, are they connected? I don't know. I'm still trying to answer these questions. So if we want to start there, we can.
I think that's a great place to start. What year was this roughly?
So I got to think. My memory's not bad. I don't have like eidetic memory. So I got to say the camping trip that happened was my first camping trip on my own. With a friend, you know, as a teenager. I was like 16 going into 17. I don't know if I was 17 yet.
That's good enough.
So it's somewhere around between 16 and 17. It was first camping trip. We went to a place, my best friend Lance at the time said, oh, he'd gone to this place before with some friends. There's like a number of camping spots, a lot of Grateful Dead and Fish Heads that would go on tour, following the bands around, would stop in Kentucky at Red River Gorge and go camping in these different spots. Some of them have caves. There's a cave that had a whole window that looked out over the whole valley. And there's this one spot there has like a cliff area near the camping spot. You got to hike out almost 2 miles after you already drive up a few miles up into the foothills. You got to hike about 2 miles out to this camp spot way out in the middle of nowhere. And there's these cliffs that look over the whole Forest Valley right at that camping spot. And that's where he wanted to go. So we went on this camping trip, my first camping trip, and set it up. And my friend Lance and I, when we got there, of course, you hiked 2 miles. We were exhausted, but excited, you know, because like, wow, this is awesome. This is beautiful. I see the cliff, and we're hanging out, and it started to get, you know, nighttime, but we thought we were going to hang out like all night. Like we had plans, but of course, hiking 2 miles, setting up the tent, doing all that, we were pretty well going to be out of it, you know. But I do remember that, that night we were right before the words came out of my mouth. There was this weird blue flash of light. Now, Lance and I still think it could be this. It could have been. Lance goes, "Oh, it must be heat lighting." And it did storm, not that day, not that night, but the rest of the camping trip. But that night, it was just one weird blue flash of light. And he goes, "Oh, that was heat lightning." I go, "Oh, okay." Because he saw the question look on my face, like, what was that? You know? And so after that, he's like, "Well, I think we should go to bed." I'm like, yeah. And, you know, I'm like, but the sun's just set. Like, we were going to stay away later than this. But we decided to go to bed.
16-year-olds don't normally crash at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock.
Right. Well, I mean, the logical part of me writes it up that we did hike 2 miles with heavy 100-pound backpacks on our back and like took a bunch of crap out there we didn't need. So that's the, you know, my logical mind says that possibly do find it weird that we went to bed pretty much after sunset, but it had been like 7 o'clock at night or something like that. You know, I'm not sure. You know, this is midsummer. This had to been, I believe we went in June, if I remember right. It was either May or June. I think it was June because it was after my birthday. So we go to bed that night. He made fun of me that night because he's like, you know, take off your boots. I'm like, I will leave them on. Just the thought in my mind, if like something happens, an animal attacks or something goes wrong, and I had the Deliverance banjo song playing in my head while I'm out there. Anything goes wrong, I got my boots on to make run for it. You know, in the middle of the night, if I wake up. So, you know, we lay down, and I remember falling like right out. Like, it didn't take me long, even though I'm thinking in my mind, like all this stuff, I'm listening to all the sounds, like, you know, all the worst 80s horror movies are playing through my mind out there. Cause this is my first camping trip on my own as a teenager. And, but I fell right out, and, I don't know what, if I, you know, dreamt anything else. What I do know is there's just some very vague memories after this very vivid memory. All right. So somewhere in the point of dreaming, I looked at it for many years. If I were to, somebody would be like, "Hey, Red River Gorge," and brought this memory up, I'd think, "Oh yeah, I had a really intense lucid dream." It starts with me this part doesn't feel, you know, blurred. This part was the intense part. I remember suddenly floating out of my tent, like right through my tent, out of the top. But like I was laying down. So like I floated up, I could see the tent, you know, as I floated, you know, whatever there, if I'm floating up, I was laying on my stomach, and I went right up, and I could see the tent. And for, I don't know how long, it's like, there's no time. I was conscious enough and hanging up in the air, looking out over the whole Red River Gorge Valley to think, wow, this is a cool lucid dream. I thought, like, I recognized I'm dreaming. This is really intense. This is really real. What can I do? And at the moment that I thought, like, can I fly somewhere? I remember having this thought, like, oh, because I'd had flying dreams, lucid flying dreams before.
Yeah.
This scene, I'm like, this is really real. And then there was a bright light behind me. I remember that, and like this, like, oh, what's going on? And after that, everything else is very, very vague. I don't know. Like I can feel a presence. Like I've tried to search my mind. I remember the dream after waking up, like a control room area. I'm talking sci-fi. I am, and I hate saying that, but it was like a very sci-fi area. I can see panels, and I can see somebody there. I can't look at their face. That's telling me things, not to be scared, and I wasn't. I don't remember being scared. I don't remember fear in this. And they're telling me something like super important. And that's the part, like when I woke up, I was like, it's like reach, grasping. What was it? What was it? But when I woke up, I realized it's like just a twinkle of light outside. So the sun hasn't risen yet, but it's starting to. And I was flipped around in my tent, not on my stomach. I'm on my back now. And my head's towards the door, and my boots are off. And they're at the back end of the tent, just stuck off. I'm like, wow, did I really move around like that in this tent with my other friend laying next to me last night and did that? And I realized, I look over and speak, my friend's gone. I'm like, and I actually got a little panicked. I'm like, whoa, where is he? What's going on? Then I could smell coffee. I remember the coffee. I remember smelling the coffee going, oh, he must have got up. And that just took me away from it all the questions of what it was. Maybe I could have searched more at that moment for what I had in that dream. I was for a minute trying to, like, I remember waking up trying to grasp, like, oh, wait, don't forget, what was it I was dreaming? That's what I thought, it was a dream. So I get up, I find Lance out down the path at the little cliff area. And we're, talking and like saying good morning. He's like, go make yourself a cup of coffee. And I do. And we're sitting there and we're talking. The sun's getting ready to rise. I remember the birds chirping the night before, because we did this like little music thing with, we were both musicians, and it was really cool. You could hear them talking to each other. That morning, I could just start to hear the birds. But when I started to think about it, I'm like, wait a second, there are no birds. It was really dead quiet. I'm like, I guess it's just this way in Red River Gorge, Kentucky morning, maybe, and it just got really quiet. And then like Lance read my mind, I think said something along the lines of, wow, it's really quiet. I'm like, yeah. And, I can't remember word for word of what we talked about then. I know we sat out there, we waited on the cliff, just drinking our coffee, and like, man, we went to bed early. I know we were talking about that, like, why did we go to bed so early? Now we're up at like 5 a.m. or something, what happened? And I do remember before I did ask him, like, hey, when you got up, which way was I facing in the tent? I somehow rolled around and turned around and goes, yeah, I thought that was weird. I remember saying that. It's like, how did you do that in the middle of the night without waking me up? Because you flipped all the way around, or did you get up and go to the bathroom or something? Because you were turned all the way around in the tent when I woke up this morning. So when he woke up, I was there and just passed out, turned around with my boots off. He's like, I don't remember you moving it. He himself is somebody who suffered night terrors, severe night terrors, ever since his childhood and into adulthood. I don't know where he stands with it now. I'm friends with the guy on Facebook, but very afraid to approach him with this because he's a very skeptical a-hole about these things, very arrogant. That's why I never could talk to him about a lot of this stuff. But he was a believer in some things. So I thought maybe, I don't know. I'm afraid to talk to him about it all these years later. And I don't want to. We'll get to that.
How big was the tent?
It wasn't a very big tent. I mean, we're talking a 2-person tent.
Okay, so there really is no way that you could have turned around.
No, we didn't bring a big tent out there. We're hiking 2 miles out. We were sharing a small tent just because less we had to carry. And so, we're sitting on the cliff talking about that and stuff. And like, we notice how dead quiet it got. And it's a misty morning. Like there's this whole mist that's out over this cliff over Red River Gorge looks out over this whole like forest valley. It's beautiful. It was so beautiful. I took my wife there a number of years later, because I was 16 then, 17. I took my wife there when we were like 21. So I wasn't terrified. Whatever happened there, unlike Terry's incident, that was terrifying. I don't believe mine was. I don't think whatever I encountered in that woods scared me. So I don't think I had any, negative experience, I don't think they did anything to me. I don't know. It was very vague. I felt like I was being told something very important. And I also felt like my friend Lance was a part of it or there. That's all I can, when I search your search your feelings, Luke. I do that. Like search my memories, try to remember what it is. That's all I got. No past or hypnotic regression sessions on this stuff at all. I'm afraid to, honestly.
Yeah.
But we're sitting out there. The main point of this story, we're sitting on this cliff after all that happened, and out in this valley, suddenly out of nowhere, as we noticed, it got dead quiet. Like everything suddenly got quiet. This huge beam of light, as big as my house, from the floor's floor went up. And I don't know how long it went. It felt like it probably was only a second or two, but it felt like time slowed. I don't know. It's just like we were like, woo, and then it's gone. Now, wow. I tried thinking of all kinds of like, what the heck could that have been? It was just a light. There was no ship. There was no nothing. It was just a big beam of light in the early morning, shot up. Now, later on, we found there was a house there in that area, right where we saw it. When the sun finally came up and we could totally see and the mist was gone, they're like, well, there is a house there. But we're like, yeah, but what we made the light, the whole house turning on. I mean, you need to like floodlights. And my friend Lance later on driving by, he's like, I think I spotted a spotlight. I never saw a spotlight. I never saw anything. And if it was a spotlight, it'd have to be huge. Yeah. It'd have to be huge, like bigger than Batman's, Commissioner Gordon puts up. It was huge. It didn't last long. My friend Lance just laughed it off and wrote it off. And that's how he would be about a lot of these things until we encountered our shadow person later on, where he got much more or less skeptical and scared for his life. And that's the thing. So I had that experience. I didn't think about it for a very long time. And I had other dreams too, I realized after reading your book too, that I just are dreams to me. But if I connect them and what's in those dreams to what was going on there, and the shadow person experience starts to make me wonder, are they dreams or is something else going on? And I've had some missing time episodes just this last year that I'm not sure about.
Wow.
What does that mean to me? I don't know. Like I told you, I'm just at the beginning of trying to discover what that means. I don't think I'm an abductee. I don't think I was before then. I don't think anything before then. I don't really know. My gut instinct makes me feel like my friend might be, and I got picked up with him.
Yeah. Now, did he have night terrors before this camping trip, or were they after the trip?
All of his life. Yeah.
All his life. Okay.
Yeah, you had to get that news told to you when you spent the night at his house. When he'd have to break down, just let you know, if I wake up screaming and lose my mind, go get my parents. Yeah.
Wow.
So you see what I'm getting at?
I do.
And if he's somebody who he has a family, his life looks great. As far as I know, it's great. Nothing's wrong. Why would I go up to him and put that little seed in there? You know what I'm saying? Why would I do that? There's nothing going wrong with his life. Everything's perfectly fine. So why should I shake that boat? And that's why I haven't talked to him about any of it. Stuff I didn't connect back then that I have connected now. If he seems to be fine, then whatever's going on with him, I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm guessing everything's fine. I don't need to ruffle those feathers.
You know what's weird is that, in all these responses I got to my book, just like you, I had 1,599 other people write to me too in emails. And I, being a data-driven kind of guy, I kind of put this all out on an Excel spreadsheet looking for commonalities and things that they had in common. And one of the things that really stood out to me was that whenever two people had a shared experience, like Toby and I, things were never the same between us again. I mean, it was just, we were never the same. And people wrote and tell me that all the time. Ray Fowler wrote an excellent book about the Allagash Four up in Maine.
Yeah.
And same thing there. You had Jack and Jim Weiner. They were twins, and twins are always close. And then the two other guys.
The whole aspect of twins in this too. They go down too. Yeah.
In your story, or just in general?
No, just in general, twins involved in an abduction, or that's a whole other, commonality.
Well, anyway, these four guys, after their experience, and they had a crazy experience, drifted apart. And it's kind of like, if a group has this shared experience, it's kind of like the band breaks up. Everybody goes in a different direction.
But for me, with him, we hung out after that camping trip. We were fine with each other. It was after our shadow person experience, that's when that changed. That I didn't want to be around him. Which I found that's why the shadow person experience, like, people don't know. People talk about shadow people since the 90s. Art Bell used to have people calling in talking about it. And I really think it grew on Art Bell's show. the shadow person. It's just people coming out and saying, I've seen shadow people, because a lot of people see ghosts and they see them as shadows. That's, I think, a typical shadow person is just a spirit, but there was an odd phenomenon of the Hat Man and shadow person. That is something more, something you won't see out of the corner of your eye, something you see right in front of you, and something that's telepathic, something that wants to mess with you. And some people call that demonic. I don't know. What I encountered with my friend was about a few months after that camping trip. And so we went in June, it was in October. So yeah, I was 17 when this happened. So the camping trip was 17, that's right. And then in that October, we went out to a party in these woods, and there's these train tracks there that actually crisscross. They go over, there's like all day, there's a bridge, and there's another set of tracks that run like 100 feet down below it. And there's a whole slope that goes down into the woods that are nobody occupies. And teenagers decide to throw a party out there, you know, just like a Friday the 13th horror film. It's what it felt like. I'm sitting around the campfire playing guitar, and these guys are all drinking and doing acid and huffing whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, this is just recipe for disaster. You know, and I was waiting for my friend to show up so we could get out of there, and I'm playing guitar. And the first time I ever saw a shadow person was when I was sitting there playing guitar at this campfire, this party, and I saw this 7 foot tall. And at first I thought I saw something move out of the corner of my eye, typical way you see a shadow person. But I turned and looked, and I saw between trees this thing walk, and it was just too tall to be a person, in my opinion. It was just, I'm like, what? Like my heart stopped. It was at the end of this song I played. It kind of stopped me while everybody else still kind of playing, and I saw it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going. And I'm like, okay, song's over, I'm gone, guys. And because I was actually playing guitar and singing and all that, and it was at the end of the song I saw this thing. And I ended up running into my friend Lance, just to make the story short. And he and his girlfriend at the time were walking to the tracks to come to me, and they were hearing footsteps behind them. They turned and wouldn't see anything. And then one time he turned, he saw this shadow walk across the tracks. And so he's like, that's weird. So that was a weird incident. It was on Halloween, or near Halloween, I think it was. A year later, the day after Halloween, after having a number of dreams throughout that year of those tracks and a shadow person standing at the end of the bridge, calling me to it, I finally confessed to my friend Lance, hey, we should go out there for Halloween. I've been having dreams about that place. And he goes, what? He's like, I swear I've seen a shadow in my dream, and it calls me out there. We both were like, okay, we're both having dreams about a shadow person calling us out there. Let's go.
You know? Good idea.
Typical
teenagers, right? You know, we were both into Interview with a Vampire and the Vampire Chronicles. We liked the dark gothic stuff, and thought like, something's calling us out there, something powerful. Let's go, you know.
Can you describe this shadow thing? I'm just trying to visualize what this looks like. I mean, I hear that
in the dreams is darker than dark. In person, it's darker than dark, but it's very quick usually when you see it. The longest I saw it wasn't quick. It was in the middle of the night when it's completely dark out. So it's hardly hard to see. I was at my parents' house smoking a cigarette in the middle of the night. And this is when I saw it as a hat, what you could describe as a hat man, because it had the, I didn't say cone man or a hat or something that went up like this. It just went up like that, and it stopped. Yeah. Almost like a stove pot, but not as tall as it wasn't like Abe Lincoln's. It wasn't like that tall, you know. It could almost be a fedora, in my opinion. But it seemed just like something like shaped around the head. But I'm telling you, there's no detail. It's just completely black. But this scene was 3D black to me, because it literally walked out. I could see. I'm like, somebody's walking up to me. I'm like, who's walking through my woods coming up to me? And I like froze. Like, do they see me standing here with a cigarette? I'm like dropping the cigarette, trying to put it out, and this thing walks right up to me, and I am like so terrified I can't move, and it just literally turns around and walks right back out. But in my head, I pretty much knew what I was dealing with was the shadow person, because I'm sitting there smoking that cigarette that night going, I'm sick of this crap. This thing wants to take me, come take me, because it didn't bother me for weeks in my sleep. And when I did that, this thing came out of the woods and walked right up and walked back, like saying, you can't do nothing to stop me.
You heard that telepathically? You heard
really that was a feeling. Nothing? That was the feeling I got, the vibe I got. Like, like it was laughing at me. Like it walked right up to me and like, what are you gonna do? Because I was getting angry before that point. Now I'm totally scared. You know, I get goosebumps just now thinking about it. But this thing
give you an evil vibe. Did you get like this?
Yeah, I would say I've been, now being a paranormal investigator, I've been some places where people have killed themselves. I've felt that. You know, that feeling that's like evil. But I've always described this scene as like it's evil in its intent, like what it wants to do. I guess you could say it's evil, but it's almost alien. I've always said that before I ever made any connection to aliens, but I always felt like it's not human, not terrestrial, not dimensional, not supposed to be here. Everything it is about, it shouldn't be here. That's my feeling about it. Yeah. Like whatever but it gave me the creepy crawly feeling in my, if it was a dream or not, felt like it was standing over me. I was paralyzed and it would like run its hand on my arm at one point, and it'd be like the skin crawly feeling, like it would toy with me and perilous. And then it would take me out of my body in these dreams and show me things. It did this on end for, a good couple months.
And what did he show you? Or she? Or
some things, some things are definitely way too personal. That's how bad this thing is. There's things in my past I don't, my childhood experiences. I had a happy childhood, great parents. I don't want to say anything about that, but I had some other experiences that were disturbing, and it went right to that. And I just stuff I can't talk about.
Yeah, no, I didn't ask you to, but that's kind of
cool. The example I always give, because this doesn't matter to me anymore, being married now and all that. My girlfriend at the time was cheating on me, and I didn't know it. I was totally clueless. I thought everything was fine, like a dumb man that I was, or boy. And it showed me her sitting in this car, this parking lot, kissing this other guy she worked with. And the next day, as I finally find out, like, oh yeah, you haven't talked to Carrie? And I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to her. Like, you should talk to her. I'm like, what is going on? I found out that happened that night, just like I saw. She even admits it to me. She's like, who told you? She wanted to know who told me. When I said it, I didn't tell anybody else that I knew. I told her, I said, you weren't with him, kissing him or something, right? Because there's this weirdness going on. I'm like, because she told me I had something. I need to talk to you about so-and-so. And I'm like, what? I don't want to say names here. I don't know. No, I don't think these people watch me or anything, but, when she said something's up with, I need to talk to you about so-and-so, she was supposed to be hooking him up with her best friend. Part of me's like, oh, that's what she wants to talk about. But I'm like, oh, you weren't like kissing him in a car or anything. I made a joke. That's how it came out. She's like, she got white. She's like, who talked? I'm like, so that happened. She's like, yes. I'm like, this was in the parking lot out in front of the movie theater. After you guys got off of work, she goes, who told you this? I've told no one. And I'm like, oh my God, this thing showed me it. Exactly. And laughed. It loved my total hate. It fed off my hatred of things too, as much as it fed off my fear. It wanted my hate too. It either wanted to make me do something really bad to people or really bad to myself, or both, whatever it could get. That's what I felt. And I've studied. Yeah, and I got into demonology. I'm not a demonologist, but I got into studying demons and all this stuff just because of this, because I wanted to figure out what it was. I still don't buy that it was demonic. I don't know. It definitely feels like what demonics do, but man, there was this wicked intelligence to this thing. Like it knew how to get right down to my core. Like somehow it instantly knows everything about me. That's what I felt like. And shadow, being metaphorically a shadow, is perfect because it felt like my darker self. I've struggled. I've looked at this as honestly as I can. Like, is this something that's from inside me? Because it literally knew everything about me. Well,
that could be. It could be something inside you. However, if Lance is also having these experiences,
he was, and so was the girl that went out to us with the tracks. They both were having experiences that were personal.
That kind of takes it outside of something. Right. Inside you,
right? But we all were affected. Well, this is why I get into you. People are familiar with parapsychologist Barry Taff.
Of course,
yes. He did the original UCLA.
Out in California.
Yeah. One of the things that got me into his study, before I ever had him on my show, became a big fan of his and studying the entity. Are there parasitical dimensional beings that feed off of our emotions? His take is environment, person that creates these paranormal events that happen are psychokinetic. And it's just the person and the place basically interacting. Their energy field sets off something in this energy field that makes things appear to be haunted. I have a third element, which is something I feel is like a parasitic entity that interacts between those two elements, a person, an environment, and something else that's swimming in the pool of that environment that feeds off of it, something intelligent, but not human. I don't know if it's Judeo-Christian demonic, but it's something, an entity that feeds off of emotions. Because whatever I encountered out on those tracks that followed us, and see, I haven't even given you the whole story of the shadow person. I mean, like, there's so many weird synchronicities and craziness to that event and what happened there. That train tracks where we encountered this, before I ever went out there, I didn't know a number of people had died right on that spot on that bridge. 3 children 30 years before. This is where the story gets synchronicities. The night my best friend called me over and I found all this information out, because his dad flipped out on him when he told him, broke down. I'm like, I'm having night terrors every night. I'm being terrorized ever since we went out to the train tracks behind this bowling alley. And he goes, where? The night we were out there doing the year later, when we went out there to, egg this thing on, his dad was at a bar that night. And he's just sitting there and he says, I don't know why I did this. He just turned around to this guy sitting next to him, who was like a known hobo in town that would wear, like, always had a radio with him. And he was in the bar with him. He turned to him and goes, you remember those kids that were killed out on the train tracks 30 years ago? And the guy turns to him and goes, yeah, one of them was my daughter.
Oh my.
His dad's like, get him a drink. All right. Paid the tab and got out of there. And it was like, man, what the heck was that? So his dad's was holding this in the whole time, like freaked out by this weird incident. And then his son drops it on him that he was out at those train tracks the same night, because we knew. He told him, he goes, it was night after Halloween. His dad knew what night it happened to him. He's like, that was the same night. He's like, don't ever go out there again. They called me over to his house so his dad could yell at me for going out there, and told me, don't ever go out there again. I found out later, a girlfriend of mine's mother, one of her ex-boyfriends and a friend went out there onto those train tracks, laid his heads down on those tracks, and she had talked to him that night. He was fine, new girlfriend, new job, everything was going good, but they ruled it as suicide because he got drunk, went out there and laid his head down on the tracks behind his house, right on that spot, and was killed. So synchronicities galore, weirdness, death, all the darkness. I don't know, pieces of puzzles I've still, all these years later, not put together.
Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit to the synchronicity weirdness, because I've really never heard of a Hat Man until today. I was told about Hat Man. I got an email just from the show I did with Carrie Cassidy the other day, and hey, I want to talk to you about my stuff, the way that people reach out, and he mentioned Hat Man. And the only other time I've heard Hat Man was on that show that I did with Carrie. So twice in the last 2 days have I heard about Hat Man. So this makes number 3.
It always started with shadow people, but
honestly,
Hat Man ties into it.
I'm kind of creeped out right now.
Yeah, I would. I was very.
I'm not comfortable.
I didn't talk about this stuff for years. The only reason I got me to start talking about it now is I feel, like I said, I look at all your experiences, Terry's experiences, my experiences, anything paranormal. They're all pieces to a puzzle, to a unified field theory for the paranormal that would tie all this together. Because I believe there's some connection between what's happening on the extraterrestrial side and people's experience with abduction to what's happening with people experiences with unknown entities, like the entity case, or my shadow person case. These things come from somewhere else, something that could be one day scientifically explained, in my opinion. And they're all connected for some reason we don't understand, because we don't understand the fabric of reality. That was taught to me when I saw a green floating head when I was a kid.
Right?
That's,
right. Absolutely.
You think there's a supernatural? I mean, supernatural to me is kind of a different level than paranormal. Do you think shadow people have they're supernatural in origin, or you think they're just run-of-the-mill weird things that pop in?
I feel, you want to know if my sci-fi brain goes with it? Because that's just how I am. I'm a science fiction fan. If I were to write a story on it, give it a twist, like M. Night Shyamalan, I wonder sometimes if they're not, like the shadow person, what I experience are not different, demonic, not entities from another dimension. Maybe the dimension thing plays into it. What if they're just, they talk about inner Earth. They talk about aliens that are living here now. What if they're aliens that have some projection device that can protect them and project their psychic kinetic body somewhere? What if the whole experience is just some sick video game for an alien? Because this thing felt like it was having fun. It was childish in manner and the way that it was having fun with my emotions. It was all interested in my emotions and feeding off them. What if it's something like that?
We're here for their amusement.
Right.
And their food. It's very much like,
and if energy's
Monster,
food.
Yeah. Monsters Inc., when the monsters are trying to scare the kids at night, and the more screams they get, the more they can power up their city.
They say there's a lot of hidden stuff in movies.
Mhm.
And that's one Monster Inc. that makes me wonder, like, isn't that Pixar like some insider from the Illuminati, like putting that information in there? I don't know. I don't know. Or it's just something from our the archetypes of our subconscious that's we're putting out, these creators in Hollywood put out there unknowingly. Because I know I've come up with, like I told you, my sci-fi brain. I've come up with storylines and ideas that later I find out are like actual conspiracy theories I had no idea about.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. Well, you've had at least one episode of precognition because you knew about your
I've had
girlfriend.
many.
You've had many. Okay.
But I've had many without the shadow person experience. Many. So maybe the whole experience is something cooked up in my mind. It was just another way of it precognitively telling me. I don't know, but it's a pretty torturous way. It all ended for me, just so people know. I've written out this whole story in a book, Mike Ricksecker's Paranormal Encounters Volume 2, I believe is the name of the book. The whole story is in there, but so people know, is it did end for me with the shadow person one night. It was not long after seeing it as a hat man, and not long after being told about the tracks and the kids dying there. This thing came at me again at night, but this time it felt totally, completely, no way it was a dream. It was physical. I felt myself being lifted off my bed. I even felt my nose touch the little stucco in the ceiling. And then
Wow.
it's a telepath. It's not something I hear with my ears, but I can hear this thing's laugh in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not in my ears. I know it's in my head, but I can still hear it. And it throws me down and I'm like bouncing on the bed, paralyzed. I still can't move. I can feel my body, like jiggle on the bed, but I can't shake off. You think I'd be able to jump after that. I'm so scared. My body's pumped with adrenaline, but I can't move. Somehow this thing has me still paralyzed, picks me up again, and then drops me. And then the third time it goes to pick me up, I'm like, I can feel my nose touching. I'm like, dear God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Please help me. And then this thing screeched. There was like a screech. I hit the bed, flew off the bed, and I got up on the floor and I saw this, bright light flash. And I'd swear again, another like time slows. I saw a man standing there for just a few seconds and he looked at me. He had like glasses on. I could see the light of the window and like white shirt, suspenders. And later on, it looked like my great grandfather I wasn't very familiar with. I saw a picture of.
You think your grandfather maybe came there to
something saved me when I called out to God. I think so. Whoever was in
Wow.
the suspenders and glasses. Even creepier is, I do the ITC spirit box stuff.
Yes.
Experiment. When I first started experimenting with it, it was during the day. So before I had my second son, Dean was just 2 or 3 years old. And we're doing those experiments. And I got a really weird feeling. I said, I got to go. And I was like experimenting with Jamie at the time and another person from England who was very psychic and might have been fueling this whole thing. I go upstairs and I find him hiding under this table. And I go, what's wrong, buddy? He goes, there was a man and a girl in the house. I'm like, what? He goes, there's a man and a girl in the house. I go, okay, there's nobody here now. I'm telling you, Dad, there was a man and a girl in the house. I'm like, okay, well, what did the man look like? He goes, he had belts on his shirt. And I'm like, anything else you could tell me? Because I'm thinking, he goes, he had glasses. I'm like, what did the little girl look like? She had like a white dress and dark hair. Well, the suspenders and glasses, I'm thinking is the great grandfather I saw when I had my shadow person experience. And the girl in the white dress is a whole other story about me talking to my unborn dead sister that happened. That's a whole other paranormal story. But yeah. So weirdness. I said all these synchronicities, all these scenes. It just the puzzle. The soup keeps getting more chunks and getting thicker for me to figure out how it all is connected. But that's my life. It's filled with little weird things I can't connect yet or understand. Probably always be that way.
Let's give a shout out to Paranormal Soup. I'd like you to
Absolutely.
tell us a little bit about your show. I mean, I know a little bit about a show. Erin does too. So I think people listening would like to know. I mean, I think everybody should tune in on Sunday night and listen to Paranormal Soup because it's great. And where can they find it? You're on different platforms and stuff?
Well, we stream live. It's not a podcast. I know I'm not in the podcast world. I don't have a podcast up on iTunes. I am sorry. It's a 3-hour show. That's why. It's a 3-hour live show. I was a big fan of Art Bell. I like doing live shows. I'm not into doing podcasts. Nothing wrong. I listen to podcasts. I'm not into recording them. I like doing a live show with live phone call line-ins and all that. And I like live conversations with guests. So it's every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern. We do a news segment at the beginning called the World Wide Web of Weird, where we cover the latest in paranormal videos and evidence and stories, or just sometimes not paranormal, just stupid stories. And we just have really good guests on, and we have, like I said, phone lines. We do some nights where we have spirit box, and we do spirit boxes, and people call in and let the spirits talk to them, and we edit the video and go look and see if there's any responses and post them up later. We have psychic game nights. I haven't done any of that stuff a long time. I'm booked up with guests now already into August.
Wow, that says a lot. You know, I called in one night and you did the guest box thing for me, trying to contact my buddy Toby from the camping trip, and it's some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, I remember because I sent you we'll edit the audio. I try to listen back, and I'll listen and try to give you what I think it's saying, and then give you the video back and see what you think. So yeah, I remember you said you thought you got some responses in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hey, have you ever heard of WavePad? WavePad.
You have. I'm trying to remember what it is. It's
an app you can use to clean up video, like off Necrophonics.
Okay, that's what. Yeah, I haven't used it.
I haven't either, but I think I'm going to try it. I've been using my Necrophonics a lot lately.
The app you got to review it. It's not worth it if you just sit there and listen to it and think you're talking to somebody. Review it.
Got to record it.
Yeah, I've got to record it. I just use iMovie on my iPhone or tablet, edit it on there simply. Try not to make it too complicated. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. We do the instrumental transcommunication spirit box stuff. Is, are we talking to something? Are we talking to universal consciousness? I don't know what we're talking to, but we're talking to something, because the responses I've gotten back on stuff is just, it's too improbable for it randomly to pick those words to come up at times for people.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to say, somebody's asking about, their grandmother. My favorite one is somebody asking about their grandmother and the family secret. And it said, Chuck knows, or Chuck is taking care of you, or taking care of the family, or something like this. It mentioned Chuck in a whole sentence, and found out the family secret was Chuck Norris was their illegitimate grandfather. Like, he didn't accept the.
Wow.
Yeah. And it said Chuck in this whole sentence. Things like that. It's like, how that randomly pop up,
Wow. That's crazy.
And when I tagged it, I still didn't know the family secret.
Yeah. I know you've had Steve Huff on your show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's the big name in ITC, love him or hate him. I mean, he's got a lot of haters. He got a lot of people like me. I think he's awesome. I
do too.
Yeah. But he gets some credible evidence, and I think it's because of the connection he's made. I think if you focus enough, keep communicating enough, you're going to start getting responses. You're also going to get stuff happening in your house, and you might have serious effects to your health, which Steve Huff can attest to, dangerous things. So I don't recommend it. It's interesting. I still experiment with ITC, but I do it on my show nights, and I don't do it in my house very much at all. And I don't even take it on investigations.
Really?
Because I do residential investigations mostly, which I haven't had a lot lately because of COVID, and I don't want to. I won't risk it unless I feel somebody really needs us. But on residential investigations, I just want to record what's happening in the home, like with audio, video. I don't want to add on top of it an ITC spirit box. That's they don't have
complexity.
Well, it's not what's happening in the home. That's just adding an element. That's might as well bring in a Ouija board. And that's not a good idea. It's the same thing, or even worse.
I've asked Erin this question before, and I'd like to hear your spin. Of all the houses that you've been to, is there one in particular that stands out as the weirdest, scariest, most bizarre, most frightening?
For me?
Yes.
Probably the Bell Guinness house. The experience there wasn't very frightening or anything. Of course, it did storm the one time I got to go. People don't know who Belle Guinness is. She's 1908. Her house burnt down, and she was supposedly died there, but she didn't. She killed her whole family, kids, stepdaughters, faked her death, and probably left, because she had also murdered 40 or more men over the years on her farm who would come there to marry her. Yeah, it's the world's first female serial killer.
Yeah. She
I think she had help in the town. I think she had help in the town from people like the sheriff and other things like that involved. But I lost an investigator to that because he felt like it followed him home and he was having weird stuff. And I saw a girl in my house at the time floating in my ceiling. Now, like I said, I've had a lot of psychic experiences and I've had psychics tell me, oh, you could totally do this. I had one that says you will be doing this in the future. I don't want to be a psychic or a medium, but I do see things. I walked in what now is my 5-year-old's bedroom, but at the time it was my office. Walked in there and turned around and there's this girl hanging from the ceiling. Like I couldn't see her head. Her head's like literally in the ceiling, but her body's hanging there with this like dirty, grungy gray dress. And I slapped back, grabbed the door, and then she was gone. And that was right after the bell Guinness. My wife's like, okay, time to ward the house. And then at the same time, my other investigator was having all this stuff. He quit never came back to be an investigator after it.
Wow.
And he was all up into the Bell Guinness history. He was getting deep in the case. He wanted to prove that there was connections to the police and everything there. And I don't think he is doing that anymore. And I swear she might have went after him because he was trying to expose more of the truth.
That makes sense.
But that house had almost burned down on its own again because they basically built a new house on top of the foundation. And the family living there had 2 fires. They could explain. Now it's gone. Now a factory's there. They tore it down. But that whole neighborhood, I noticed all that whole neighborhood is full of people who hoard.
Interesting.
And there's been multiple suicides there. It's just like you get a bad feeling about the whole area. And she literally probably spread body parts all over that farm area. Like she'd feed them to her pigs and just dump them out in the field.
Yes,
like the remains.
Acres and acres of land that's people built homes on.
It's a lot of swamp too. But but nothing frightening actually happened on the investigation. Like I've gone to so many things. I've never encountered anything like maybe my shadow person experience. I've seen weird things, but generally by the time I get to investigation, it's chilled out. If it hasn't chilled out, the people move out before I can get in.
Yeah.
Every time I've gotten a good video from somebody in a house or a good story, and I believe the person, what's going on, it's so bad that I don't get there in time because I don't rush in there like Ghostbusters. We're not Ghostbusters. We do our field work. I regret every time we ever tried to just jump into an investigation without doing any pre-work on it. I don't do that. So by the time we get all done, they're already out of the house. They just can't take it. If it's that bad, I usually don't even get to investigate it.
Erin, have you ever seen a shadow person?
I've been thinking, and I've seen shadows move, but I have never seen what I would call a shadow person. You know what? I'm going to add to my weirdness in another day of somebody telling me about these beings, because I was told about night walkers the other day who are about 7 feet tall, look like shadows, walk in between, at night. And it was a man that had reached out to me for a reading after I had done some show, and he just felt a calling to talk to me. And he told me just the other day that he sees night walkers. I'm like, okay, so what's a night walker? And he described it very similar to the Hat Man, just not without a hat.
Yeah.
Just very tall and thin and sneakily moving in the streets. And he happened to say that they were afraid of him. So I'm going to be digging.
I think
into
night
this a little
walkers
bit
is the same thing as people seeing shadow people.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
Same.
semantics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like I just needed his definition of what is, what are you saying? Describe it to me, not just using a term. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I wanted to ask you is, I know you had the floating head experience when you were about 4. I had a whole bunch of people email me, and it's kind of an interesting demographic. Between the ages of 4 and 6, they had a weird dream. And these people might be in their 70s, one's even in their 80s. And they say, it's really odd that I had this weird dream when I was 4 or 5, whatever. And that dream is stuck with me.
Yeah.
And
it's scarred in your brain.
Yep. Crystal clear today as it was back in the day.
Yeah.
And,
but what do they call them? Dreams, just like my cousin did. I never let go of it. I remember that was one thing I did not write off as a dream as a child. I never let go of it. Because Philip was there with me. Of course, he did. And we were 13 when I brought it back up to him. And I'll never forget him getting so white and making somebody that scared just from a couple words coming out of my mouth. Because I thought he just remembered it like I did, like just never let it go. And he moved on and thought it was a dream. I'm like, no, that happened. He's like, stop messing with me. Didn't want to talk about it. You know what's weird? The alien thing. I told you about the dreams I had later. I totally wrote off.
Yes.
Me and Phil, when we were in our 20s, we were both having weirdly weird dreams. We wrote it off as being us Dragon Ball Z fans, and maybe we're watching too much Dragon Ball Z, but where aliens were taken to this planet and training us to be warriors. Really crazy stuff. But we both had them, around the same time. And we'd talk about it and it'd be weird, but we're like, it's got to be a Dragon Ball Z thing. We just watched too much. But we did see that green floating head where kids see, is it ghosts, spirits, or alien? I don't know. Take your pick, or it's all connected. I don't know.
Well, and your family too, right? This is your cousin?
Yeah. The interesting thing is I've traced that back, the whole green floating head. I've run research to see if it's related to like banshees or puka, because there's this I'm Irish. I'm really big time Irish. My cousin on the other side is not. Maybe a little bit, but not much. So I heard it screaming. My memory of it is it's coming through the room screaming. It's horrible. I don't know if it was in my head or in my ears. I was 4 or 5 years old. I don't know if my brain would know the difference even.
Yeah.
Right.
But I remember it's wailing because I remember before I even saw it, I knew it was coming because I could hear it. I thought it was his mom crying. And I remember, I can't remember 4 or 5 of what I said to him, but I think I kept on saying, your mom's crying. And then this thing comes poof through the room, flying around us. And that crying had went from crying to like a horrid, wretched wailing, of misery. As it
sounds like a banshee to me.
Right, exactly. As I didn't know what a banshee was when I was 4 or 5, but and when my cousin, we've talked about it many times now since he was 13. He goes, the one thing is I don't remember the wailing or crying. It was quiet. It was silent. It just went floating through the room.
Weird.
All I could hear was my crying and wailing.
Well,
Us calling for his mother. They never heard us. They never heard us. And when we finally got out of that room and went running, then they heard us.
So when you say green floating head, is it male, female? What
Female.
details?
It looked like the wicked witch of the West from Wizard of Oz always bothered me, and it's because of that green floating head.
I can understand that.
Because it looked like, to me, it was what I associated with when I saw it as the Wicked Witch of the West's green face. But it was a translucent green glow face, though.
Mm-hmm.
But it still reminded me of the Wicked Witch of the West.
Like the wizard, if the wizard had been the witch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the ghostly.
Female,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But being female definitely adds more to the banshee.
It had the look. I mean, the face very much looked like the Wicked Witch of the West.
Mm-hmm.
Is the banshee, is that an Irish thing?
Mm-hmm.
They wail and cry right before or right after or right before somebody's about to die.
I have John Kelly. It came from a great grandfather who came from Ireland to work in the mines, married a full-blooded Cherokee woman. And he's only great from me. So,
I've heard time and time again, and many people do ask me about my heritage when it comes to psychic abilities and all these things. And they tell me that the combination between Native American and Irish blood creates these psychics. And sounds like you have it too.
Well, it makes me wonder. I have a father, not to get too personal, but I have a father who left when I was 2. And of course, he went through had probably a horrible childhood. My grandfather was drunk. His mother was a drug abusing alcoholic, and she was the full-blooded, or she was half Cherokee. And then she had the Irish part, she just killed herself with drugs. This is, before I was even born, but he took off and wanted nothing to do with anybody in his family. My mom said last time she really talked to him, something horrible happened to him one night, but he would not tell her what it was. And he was afraid for his life, and he took off, and he never came back to this town.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And he's still alive, according to Social Security number being used in Texas.
In Texas. Oh, good.
Yeah. My aunt tried to get me to write him. And I'm like, I don't want nothing to do with that guy.
Yeah.
He didn't want anything to do with me. I don't want anything to do with him. But there's a curiosity. I don't give a crap about him. I just want to know his story. Mm. I just want to know what happened. What have you experienced? What weird things have you seen, biological dad? What did I inherit weirdness from your side of the family? Yeah. Is my only reason I want to talk to him, because that whole side of the family he belongs to, most of those people are dead. Drug abuse, horrible things. I have an aunt, that's about it to talk to, and some cousins, but that side of the family I don't talk to at all. It's just completely wrecked.
Is that the side that cousin Phil comes from?
No,
Okay.
he comes from my mom's side, which without the Irish or the Cherokee.
Mm-hmm.
That's the German side.
Wow. That's crazy.
German and Dutch, I think, or something like that. I don't know. German mainly.
You know, that's the park that you were in Kentucky. Is that part of the Appalachia? Is that part of the Smoky Mountain National Forest?
Yeah. Red
That's
River
supposed
Gorge,
to be
I
like
believe it is.
the number one visited national park in the United States is supposed to be Smoky Mountain National Forest.
Yeah, this is its own state park, Red River Gorge. And there's people gone missing there, you know.
It's my next question.
Yeah. And I remember being out there. The second time I went camping out there, I didn't go with Lance. I chose not to go with Lance. And I brought two of my other really good friends. That, you know what, you want to think about it? If I think about it, me and Lance did drift apart after the camping trip. I mean, we were hanging out, usually by his pushing, not mine. But that's just how I am. I'm bad. I'm a bad friend. You know, I just like, oh, you're bothering me too much now. Go away.
Yeah.
But I had made two other friends, and we decided the next year we went out camping there. That's that same place out there. And we ran into two guys who were like built like crap brick houses. And one of them said something about being a Navy SEAL, and they had guns on them. And they were like, what are you doing out here? To find out where we were camping is considered like hardcore camping, like survivalists. Let's go out here. And like, they didn't realize, you know, hippie kids come out here just to get away from civilization. But they were like, you're camping out here?
Did you ask them what they were doing out there?
No, they had guns. Did not want anything to do with them. Honestly, to be honest, I have survival instincts. My curiosity does not kill this cat. I did not ask. I was like, okay, good day. You got guns. That's not cool. I just, the Deliverance song plays in my head. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're unarmed and they have guns, I don't poke the bear.
Don't poke the bear.
They were just telling us be careful. They were just like, I hope you guys got everything you need and you're careful out here. And I'm like, okay. I didn't know if they were, work for the government or if they were who they were or why they were out there.
I'm amazed that you went back. I got to tell you, I've never.
That's what
been
I said.
camping.
If I had your experience, I would never go camping again. This is why I said whatever happened to me there, I did not feel like it terrified. The shadow person terrified me. That ruined me for years. But whatever happened out on the camping trip, if something happened, it wasn't your experience. It was not terrifying.
Well, then you say the thing kind of communicated with you.
Yeah.
Don't need to be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. That's what I remember from this. This kept telling me not to be afraid. And I wasn't. That's the thing. If I could think about it, if I search my feelings about it, I don't think I was afraid. I think I was a little like excited but I think I was afraid when the light hit me from behind when I was floating there, because it all felt so real. Then the light happened. And I think that's when I was being told, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. And then it was trying to tell me something important. That's all I know when I woke up. It's like, oh, I'm trying to remember it. What was it?
Wow.
And then being disoriented and moved around with my boots off, So was it a dream? I don't know. But the fact that I went for so many years and forgot about it, didn't think about it with all my other weirdness I talk about, didn't get brought up until I read Incident at Devil's Den in my mind.
Yeah, well, there's so many parallels. It's crazy. So many parallels between our two stories. Just curious, how long period was that, roughly?
For
the last time you thought about it, and then,
Well, you're talking. I mean, doing the show and talking about all the stuff, it never came up in my mind until I read Incident at Devil's Den. So you're talking, I was 17, and I didn't think about it again until I was. When did I read your book and have you on? I'm 40, going to be 42. So I was probably. So we're just talking over 20 years. I mean, since I thought about it.
Wow.
I thought about it. I just felt, I felt like I couldn't talk about it. And when I started writing a book and made the decision to talk about it, I felt like I was violating some kind of fiduciary trust, or like I was telling some family secret. I felt guilty.
Right. See, for me, I think some part of me filed it. Excuse my wife. Forgets I'm on air. Is hammering away.
It's okay.
they forget. I like filed it away into this is just a dream, not important.
Yeah.
That's where I filed it away. I felt silly about it, if anything, and just forgot about it. That's what I think. That's how I thought about it. If I, but reading your book made me go and remember it completely. Like, why did I never think about this? All these conversations I've had with people, because I've been doing the show for a few years before I had you on, I had other people talk about aliens and abduction. I read Communion, but it didn't even think of my mind until then.
So many people write and tell me that.
I think that it's almost like a Jedi mind trick. You're not going to remember this. It is all a dream.
Look away from it is what it feels like.
Don't worry about it. So it tells me that in and of itself tells me, Jason, that whatever it was that they told you, and you remember, just not consciously at this point.
Other things I've thought about over the years that I've like, I had that dream. That was weird. There's one time I was really sick, congested as heck. And I was a big time smoker, smoked like 2 packs a day. And I was like, God, if I went to sleep, remember feeling I was still living at my parents' house. I remember, and so I'm only at 20 and I'm smoking horribly. And I had like a horrible bronchitis, chest cold, like my chest burned. I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I went to sleep and I had this wholly intense, real dream where I was picked up by aliens. Literally like the full sci-fi experience of being tortured in a sense, but I wasn't. They were putting a tube and they're telling me the whole time, they're like, you need to stop smoking. And they put a tube down my throat. And that was like, like choking, like I've had that experience. And that's what it was like, me fighting them. And they're like, just relax. And then they like fill my lungs up with this fluid and they like mentally show me what they're doing. They fill my lungs up with this fluid and then suck it all out. And then they tell me, you got to quit smoking. And I woke up and my chest was cleared and I felt completely better. And then I went on and kept smoking. And that's the reason I hated telling people about that. And I wrote it off as a dream, because I didn't listen. It took me many years before I quit, and I still vape just to keep me from smoking 2 packs a day.
It's hard.
Mm.
You think they might
but I wrote that off. I wrote it off. It's a dream. And I still think it could be a dream, but it's a weird experience. I don't know. I woke up completely better.
Yeah, if you were that
and
sick,
feeling
it's not
guilty,
just a dream that is going to cure you like that.
I felt really guilty about. I wish they could have cured me of the smoking the cigarettes right there. Like, you can do all that mental crap, put a mental thing in my brain that says don't smoke that. That'd be great, but I guess they can't.
Yeah, maybe that's
can't
out of
fight
their
the
bounds.
nicotine. Yeah, but I don't know if that those are things I just didn't think about. I didn't think about them at all until I read Incident at Devil's Den. It made me wonder. I'm like, okay, yeah, I did have that experience. I forgot all about that.
Wow. So my TV comes on by itself at like 2 and 3 in the morning sometimes, a couple times a year. And, it's been happening for years. My wife and I don't get wigged out about it. I pick up the remote, I go in, I turn it off, and I say out loud, hey, knock it off, go back to bed.
I've had that experience recently with our TV. Like, I walk in the bedroom. I haven't told my wife about this really. I walk in the bedroom and like the TV is shut off, the timer shut off. I can see the light on the TV, so it's off. And I'm looking for the remote to go and turn it on, and it'll just pop on. I'm like, okay, okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Maybe she rolled on top of her remote, and that's why it turned on. It's just coincidence, but it's happened like 3 times now. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, is there a motion detector on this TV? Like, does it pop back on? I don't know. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I used to be able to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it used to scare me. It doesn't scare me anymore.
I used to be able to say, I don't have any missing time. No, I don't have any missing time. And then I had a recent experience where I remember getting out of bed. It was like 3 a.m. and going to the bathroom and like literally going in, doing my business, wash my hands. I remember looking at the clock. It was 3 o'clock. Come back and it's like 4:30 in the morning. I lost an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I didn't sit down on the toilet either. Just so you know, it wasn't like me falling asleep on the toilet. I literally went in, did my man business, washed my hands, and came back, and I lost an hour and a half. And what's weird is that morning when I got up later, I noticed I had like specks. I was wearing a white shirt, specks of blood on my shirt.
Really? Like tiny specks?
Tiny little specks of blood. I'm like, was I blowing out blood in the middle of the night from like my nose, my sinuses? That's weird. I've never had that happen. And I have horrible sinuses, so I thought maybe, but that was that same night I lost the missing time. And then my ring which honestly, it was over, 17 years old, the ring. It definitely was going to break at some point. Did break, totally like broke off its clasp that night too.
Interesting.
That's just really a lot of strange stuff happening at the same
That's
time.
what I used to say. I had no missing time until that point. I
And you
can't
said
say that
was
anymore.
Recently, huh?
Yes, that was this last year.
Yeah, actually, I remember talking to you about that. And I'm afraid to be regressed about 1977. I'm not comfortable
I'm afraid
doing that
I'm
yet.
same here. I would not want to. I don't blame you.
I had an incident on April 16th of 2019 that I'd like to be regressed. Just about that one particular incident, because I want to know what happened.
If any of my guests on my show that are or part of this field would probably berate the heck out of me for it. But you know why I don't want to be regressed? Because I still don't trust it.
Don't touch the regression.
I don't.
You got to really trust somebody to let them have your psyche. I mean, geez.
It's not just that. And it's not only that. I don't trust, and I hate saying this because there's many people that define their whole experiences off the regression. And that's fine. I'm not discounting their experience or the regression. But for me personally, I don't know if I trust anything because I've had a little bit I did the whole past life regression with Chris Lee did that. I don't trust it. I'm not saying what he does isn't right or good. It is. He's helped people. He did feel like he got rid of the throbbing pain in my fingers from my past life regression, but it's still like your own brain being led on a meditative journey. You know what I'm saying? It's still coming from your subconscious. What is true? Your subconscious can lie to you and show you things that it wants you to see. What is true? What is real? To me, only real is what I can physically remember seeing. That's what I got. And everything else is speculative, even regression.
Well, that there's different reasons that I think that people do go for regressions. My choice was not, I don't know what happened to me. I want to remember it because I knew at the time that I had decided to go in for a regression, I knew that I was a contactee. I knew I had these ET experiences and I had several memories already. I purposely went in because I was no longer sleeping at night. I couldn't turn the light off. I was absolutely terrified and entrenched.
You need to get to the root of it.
Yeah, I was entrenched in PTSD.
Yeah,
and I needed to heal. And
that's why I'm saying I'm not discounting it for people. For me, right. I'm doing fine. I don't see any reason to
that's a reason not to poke the bear. Yeah, don't poke the bear. If you're not having troubles, you don't need to open the book. At least not in that way.
This is exactly, you asked me why, have I talked to, it's too bad you're not talking to your friend Lance. You guys compare notes or see what's happened all these years later. And I'm friends with him on Facebook. I know him. I know his personality, and I know I'll get laughed at probably because if he's not experiencing anything, that's how he'll treat me. If he is, he still might laugh at me to write it off.
And then what will happen to him?
If I wake in if I poke that bear, he's got a good life. There's no reason to disturb or mess with him. If he came to me, hey, he knows what I'm into. He knows what I talk about. So he knows the invitation's there always for to come talk to me if he ever wanted to, if he does experience anything. That's how I look at it. So maybe one day we will have he'll come to me because I've had lots of other people come to me, I even had somebody come to me and tell me that they thought I was on a ship with them. I'm like, I don't know about that, but okay. But I try to be nice and respectful.
I got that phone call too. Yeah, I got that email and phone call. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to get that in this field. Then maybe you were. Maybe I was with somebody. I don't know. That's the thing. None of that's verifiable to me. So it's in the realm of speculative. And I love to speculate, but at the end of the day, it's who knows? That's what it runs down to. But I want to hear everybody's stories. I want to hear everybody's experiences, be it regressed, be it not. They're all pieces of a puzzle. Yeah,
that's all we got, pieces. But you said something earlier I got to really agree with, and that is that, ghost, Bigfoot, NDEs, I don't care what it is, there's a thread of commonality that runs through all of this stuff and probably goes straight back to some source, I'm guessing.
Some part of our reality we don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
That we have not even, scientists have not even grasped yet.
Yeah.
Very much the allegory of the cave.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking like Plato?
Plato?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The shadow on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's exactly what, for reality, I think and like I said, I'll always say that green floating head for me right there, that started it all out for me because I made me realize, okay, nobody knows what they're talking about. Because there are things that look like cartoons flying through my room, and I never forgot it. And I think that's why I'm wired the way I am.
Well, I think it kept magic alive in you. There comes a time where children no longer believe in magic, and those of us who have had those kinds of experiences kind of tend to hold on to, no, there's more to this,
Oh yeah.
more to this existence than what people are telling me.
Yeah, when somebody always tells me like, "Oh, I've not really had anything paranormal happen, but I totally believe it," I'm like, "Yeah, you probably had something paranormal happen. Something's affected you. You just don't want to talk about it, like because it's something's opened your eyes that these things are real. Because people that don't have any of these experiences, man, they can be real jerks about like not believing anything you say. Oh, that's not real. That couldn't have happened. You're a liar. I've been called all those things. It's been great.
Yeah, I've got my share of that.
That's why I do the show. Though, because on my show, I'm not allowed. If a caller calls in and calls somebody a liar and is nasty to them, they're gone. I'm open for good, honest conversation. You don't believe or agree with somebody, we can talk about that. But when you get rude or treat somebody as not human or devaluate somebody because you just haven't experienced their experience, well, then screw you. We don't have that on my show. I love my chat room because they're all supportive people so far I've had in those chat rooms. The trolls get kicked out, and everybody's open to hear everybody else's experiences. And I get people that don't agree with a lot of my guests at times. I hear it in the chat room, but they're still great about it. They're still not jerks about disagreeing.
Reasonable minds can disagree. Yeah. Well, I got trolled real bad for a while, and that was an experience.
Yeah, you'll experience it again, my friend, because welcome to the 2021 and the internet. And inevitable, we all will. There's plenty of trolls to go around. This ends up on the radar.
Yeah, crazy. I don't know. But I think if we don't get people that are angry or that are upset, we're not reaching everybody.
Yeah. But I mean, it seems in this world that nowadays that's the go-to, offended or outraged or upset. That's like the go-to feeling that the media is trying to get out of everybody. I'm trying to open people's minds. I don't want them to be upset.
Interesting. That makes it interesting. That drives right back to the Hat Man and what he's feeding off of. And
no, we said that. Right, I talked about this. One of the shows we talked about this recently. If shadow people or these entities feeling off of people's fears and emotions, boy, they're having a smorgasbord last year or two. They're getting a fulfill of these kind of feelings and energy from people. They got to thank all the major news networks for helping them.
No kidding.
And how much is it actual contract or helping? I mean, that's where my mind goes. Is like, is
it purposely done? Yeah. We
Have
need more juice for our batteries. Let's scare the masses. Let's,
no kidding. They're scared.
New variant of COVID. I'm not. I totally believe the virus is real. Don't get me wrong on that. But I'm just saying that they'll any good news or any bad news is a great news for the news media.
You're right about that. About that. Have you had guests bring up political stuff? I was a guest. I won't say whose show, but I did 37 shows last month. But I was a guest on somebody's show, and they started steering the conversation in the direction of politics.
I try to steer away from it. I do have guests that try to steer into it, and I try to steer on out of it. Why? Because they all suck. I don't care. I never make a Republican or Democrat happy.
Never.
I never do, because I hate both the sides. I hate all the politicians pretty much, or dislike them to some extent. Like may agree with them on some things. A lot of other things I don't. And I think most people are stupid when it comes to politics.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. Why even bother talking to them? I went to school for political science and said, "What the heck am I doing?" Quit that.
What the heck?
You were a poli-sci major?
Yeah, I tried. Yeah. My second go around in college. Some crazy theory. I thought I could get into politics. What the hell was I thinking?
Yeah, or get into law school. My undergrad was in psychology, but most everyone there had a degree in poli-sci. They thought it would help them. It wasn't worth a darn.
No, it isn't. It isn't worth anything. I'm glad I didn't go through with it.
Yeah. I mean, what do you do with it at the bachelor's level degree? I mean, at that level,
nothing.
Tough. Yeah.
I could have talked about politics on radio if I thought about doing it on radio, like getting into politics and then communication to get in radio and talk about it. I'm so glad I talked about paranormal, not politics.
Oh, God,
I would hate it. I would hate it now.
Yeah. Wow. You know what, though? They get ratings.
Yeah. If I was doing a show on politics or pop culture or video games, I'd have so many subscribers and views.
Yeah.
It'd be so much easier. The algorithms for YouTube are all set up for it already. There's no algorithm set up for Paranormal Soup except to put it down in the dumpster on YouTube. There's not much you can do. You just got to tell people, word of mouth, let people know, hey, there's a great show. You want to, open minds and conversations, go listen to Paranormal Soup. So I always thank my fans for sharing the show out, because sure as heck, Facebook and YouTube aren't letting people know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. What do you think?
I'm thinking it's an opposite, if, and this goes way into speculation, but you're thinking about the Hat Man and feeding on negativity and pain and anger and hatred and all of this thing. And it's being pumped to the masses, perhaps on purpose, and it's us over here talking about things that are completely different than that. Open your mind, expand your awareness. There's more going on here. You need to pay attention.
Yeah. And don't look at that.
It is shut down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, if people, you need to make like really short videos and start making a bunch of them on the paranormal and you'll get more attention. Maybe, the 3-hour videos is hard there's no algorithm out there to tell people to go listen to this 3-hour show.
Yeah. I don't know. Erin and I are struggling. We got 103 subscribers and I kind of like watches, I got several watches, and I saw a guy that had a watch channel and had 3.4 million views. I'm like, 3.4 million views. I mean, are people really interested in wristwatches?
No, I'm into Star Wars. I'm into Star Wars right now and watching all these Star Wars channels that are being called like right-wing conspiracy theorists because they hate Disney and the sequels, and now they're being charged by mainstream media as being somehow alt-right or something like that. None of these people, they're all a bunch of geeks that are just like, no, Star Wars sucks. They got millions of views and like hundreds of thousands of subscribers and all this stuff just to talk about how bad Disney's mucking up Star Wars. Like here I am talking about like mind-bending things and our reality. And I got, a 200, 300 views for show on YouTube and like 1,700 subscribers, like 3,000 on Facebook. That's taken 5 years. Like nobody wants to open their mind. Nobody wants to like think about death and life and aliens and Bigfoot and get into these conversations. What is going on? But boy, they want to talk about Star Wars and they want to talk about,
wristwatches,
Kardashians and wristwatches, like if it's specialty market, I guess. I don't know. But not for paranormal, I don't know. Maybe there's just too many of us. I don't know.
But I also think that the people, people in general want to know about these things and they approach you, and it's like a normal topic of conversation when you go out, just socializing. People bring it up all the time. I was leaving for lunch today and somebody said something about a ghost as we were walking out the door. I was like, wow, okay. Just, and this is in a mental health field, and I don't even know who that was. It was a nurse of some sort. But, it's just random conversation and it's all over the place. So why is there not a draw? Why are the numbers so low? It makes you wonder.
See, I wonder, a little greedy part of my mind thinks selfishly, if there is some like major UFO disclosure, real UFO disclosure, or something real event that happens that really opens up people's eyes to the UFO on a mass market media type event. Will I get more subscribers? People like, ooh, I need to find out what's going on with this UFO alien thing. I totally thought it was crap, but now it's real. It's like right up in the sky. So I better go like start listening to these shows. Well, I get more subscribers. I don't know.
I'm counting on it. Yeah. Oh man.
Maybe it's a bit selfish of me, but
by the way, if you're watching, please like and subscribe. We're really struggling here. Come on, like and subscribe.
Here.
Yeah, come on.
Hit Jason up too while you're at it.
Paranormal Soup every Sunday night.
Soup, Sunday night. Absolutely. Be there.
Or watch the archive. Go rewatch.
You've had some great guests. You've had Barry Taft on. You've had Steve Huff.
Bruce Maccabee.
You've had Bruce Maccabee on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you hear about Bruce Maccabee's wife's experience?
I don't think we ever talked about that on the show. We talked about one of his the books about the June 7th first UFO sighting. I can't think of the name. Arnold, whatever, saw the UFOs. He wrote a whole book at that time. That's what we talked about. He had his wife had an incident, or?
Oh yeah. We're talking about the same guy, Department Naval Intelligence.
Yes. There's only one Bruce Maccabee.
Oh yeah, there's one Bruce Maccabee. His wife was. They had a big piece of property, and I don't remember what state it was in. And they had a deer stand. She had a deer stand set up in the back in the woods. and she was a bow hunter. And she went out and was going to sit in the this like line, they call it, like a
Yeah.
little elevated thing. You climb up a ladder and you sit on a little
Yeah.
thing and you wait for the deer to come by. And I don't hunt, but
Neither do I.
So she is sitting in her deer blind, and she says, "Tell me if this sounds familiar." Place went quiet. Place went still. And she said that she saw this thing. Remember the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Predator.
Yes, Predator.
Hold on. I got this for you. Hold on.
Run! No! Get to the chopper!
That's from Predator.
I love it. I remember
Get to
it.
the chopper.
Oh, man. Well, she saw, how the Predator had this kind of camouflage like appearance, like pixelated green, and just kind of went from branch to branch. She saw that. And not only did she
Wow.
see it, she took a picture of it with her phone.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, check this out. This is
I have him
true.
as friends on Facebook. I don't know. Did he post any of this? I haven't seen it.
I saw
don't
it on
think I have.
television. I saw it on television. So it's got to
Hey,
be
I
true.
don't know. Watch, you mentioned it on my show and I totally missed it. I don't know, but man, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, she took a picture of it with her phone, and of course he, being the kind of guy he is, he was able
Well,
to
yeah.
evaluate it. and
Maybe we
say-
did talk about it. It does sound oddly familiar. Maybe we did. I don't
And
know.
then coincidentally, they had a son or nephew, some relative, was at a high school football game, a nighttime football game, not far from, a mile or two from
Yeah.
where she had this experience. And he saw a light in the sky, unexplainable UFO type light in the sky, the same time she had this experience, or about the same time.
Well, I wondered about the shadow person after I had it walk right up to me, if it was some kind of alien now years later in like some kind of like camouflage suit, like Predator or something like that, is that some kind of stealth technology it was wearing, I mean, they talk about the military having it, even secretly. There's a famous video out there supposedly of the military using one of these suits. You see a guy get in and out of this tank and like run across this battlefield like too fast for a human and totally like in that Predator camo kind of thing, and then he flips out of it. I don't know, it's the internet, who knows.
Yeah. Wow.
But they've got to be working on it. They definitely have tried to make a camouflage military suit or a camouflage plane. The military's invested heavily in all that.
Oh yeah, they got the money. I look at this camouflage stuff and all this, and well, I kind of lost my train of thought. That's all right.
I've
Trader.
had dreams about the Predator. And I used to say he was a friend of mine because I've had so many dreams with the Predator alien. And they
That's
don't
awesome.
ever he's my friend, and we do parkour. Not that I could even.
I'm sorry.
I can barely jump this high off the ground. So how I'm doing this in my dreams, but it's always in
Predator.
Uh-huh.
And you hear him making that like the
I
the
love
cackling
that.
noise.
I used to
I wish I
have
could do
that
it.
on my phone, as like when I would get a text message, I would have that sound on my phone. But yeah, so I've had several dreams with this guy. We're in an underground parking lot every time, and we're running, and it's a game. We're running and jumping over things. And
what's funny? What's funny is the alien beings me and my cousin felt like we were being taught by in the dreams were kind of like their culture was very Predator like. Let's just say like they were very tall, big, and like hunters and warriors like Predator.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's what we described them like. They're kind of like Predator. So they didn't look like the Predator, which scared the crap out of me if I'd seen it.
I think it speaks to the level of influence that these things really have over us. Like, and whenever you're in a weird situation and you think, I'm not scared, I'm pretty calm, I'm relaxed. I think that's their influence. And, like I had lots of people write to me and say that they saw, owls and orbs and deer and Disney characters and all kinds of crazy things in their room when they, 4 and 5.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that they can appear like I had these monkeys
anything.
appear in my room. Yeah, they
Yeah.
can appear in a way the kid will find most benign.
You still haven't seen Taken, have you? By Steven Spielberg's miniseries.
No.
Is that the one that starts with a motorcycle? Kind of motorcycle?
No. It's a miniseries, and it
forgot about that.
takes
You told me to
a
watch that.
series of family, like 3 different families. One that's an abductee, one that is half breed, and the other one's a military family. That all starts at Roswell. And you watch how they breed these two, the abductee and the half breed. They're generations of family down the line as the show goes on together. One of them, though, one of the first one being abducted as a kid, and like this is like the 1940s, sees this little childhood storybook chipmunk come to life. It's like, come with me, let's go play, and let's go in our little keeper elf tree and play. And then the tree lights up, and then you see this UFO shoot up out of it when it takes them. I'm like, screen memory.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg knows something.
I think so too.
Well, he definitely knows something. Absolutely, with his series of movies that he's made about these things. Yeah.
And what did all of them try to teach us? I've seen them all.
Stuff is real. Yeah.
No. What did we have before Spielberg? We had aliens. They're all here to kill us.
You're
Take
right.
me to your
These are
leader.
beautiful.
Steven
and
Spielberg
loving
was
and-
like loving. Look, they're taking Richard Dreyfuss up to space forever, and they were, E.T. phone home. My finger lights up. I'm friendly.
I'm
like Drew
friendly.
Barrymore. He's
I
my
can
best
give
friend.
you-
Give me a Reese's Pieces, and I'm, everything he did was to like put them in a new light as friendly and non-threatening.
I wonder where he gets that paycheck from.
Bingo.
Hmm.
And then
No,
George
that-
Lucas, his whole point of Star Wars is to really teach us more about his idea of like his philosophy of like religion and reality and morals through the Jedi.
Well, that makes a lot.
I could
of
see
sense.
that.
Yeah, Disney doesn't see it. They're totally ruining it, but
The movie The Arrival that came out a few years ago. I really wanted to
I haven't
see
seen
it,
it yet.
Oh, well, I won't tell you a lot of what happened, but I can tell you the circumstances, how I understood that it was a good and positive film for Alien Contact. When I went to see it, I saw the poster and it said that it was released on 11/11. I don't remember the year, 2017, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was with my husband at the time. We're now separated, well, divorced. But I said, this is going to be a positive film. He's like, how can you tell? I'm like, because of the date it was released, 11/11. That was done on purpose to be a signal to those who are aware that the number 11/11 is a signature, now is the time, an awakening thing. And we walked into the theater and I was overcome with a feeling of love. I mean, I have empathy, so I can feel other people's emotions. And I walk into this room and it was just a beautiful feeling. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. This is, because he kept telling me this is going to be a shoot 'em up movie. I just know it. I'm like, no, it's not. And we walk in there and I'm like, it is not a shoot 'em up movie, not at all. I would not be feeling what I feel right now had it been. And sure enough, it was a very beautiful film that actually sparked a lot of my understanding of time and how time is not real.
I've got a very interesting story about 11/11.
Oh, do you?
And do you know the significance of 11/11/18?
I don't.
November 11th, 1918 is the day that the First World War, the armistice was signed.
Oh, all right.
And that's why November 11th is Veterans Day. Or in
Gotcha.
Europe, they
Didn't
call
think
it
about it.
Remembrance Day.
Yeah.
What's creepy is, remember this whole thing called World War I started, or the Great War, started with, what was it, Austrian Crown Prince Ferdinand or something,
Mm-hmm.
riding in a
Assassination.
vehicle,
Yeah.
gets assassinated. They get his car in a museum. And this is true. You can look it up, Google it. The license plate of his car, 11/11/18.
But
No way. That's crazy. That's wild.
that's the original license plate.
That's the original license plate, 11/11/18.
Synchronicities.
I'm telling you, doesn't get much more.
We were living in the Matrix. That's a whole other rabbit hole.
What do you think about that? You know, Elon Musk is kind of my hero. I like the guy.
Yeah.
Um,
I love and hate him. He does things that just drive me nuts and says things that are completely, for somebody as smart as him, so stupid. But then I love his enthusiasm for what he wants to do.
I do. Yeah, I do too.
For some things, I don't know about the chips in our brains. I'm sorry. Draw the line there, buddy.
Yeah, keep on the monkeys. I don't want one.
He's my inner little mad scientist. I'm like, I get what you want to do, Elon. I get it. But go watch Terminator again. Go watch, you need to go watch all these other sci-fi movies because they're all warnings not to do what you're trying to do.
Well, he's in a hurry to get to Mars, and I wonder why.
Yeah, before his government money funds.
Yeah.
That's where he gets kicked off the board. I don't know.
I had somebody tell me that Elon Musk and his rockets are going to be like the last lifeboats off the Titanic.
Yeah, well, if you
knows?
believe all the stuff about them already having bases on Mars and all that stuff, that could be the truth.
Yeah, it could be. It's hard to
But
believe.
honestly, how are we going to survive in space? There'll be death boats out in space. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna be real hard. We got a long ways to go before we're living on Mars or doing stuff out there.
Yeah.
Unless they get that alien technology released to everybody, then we're good. We're gonna be there tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, who's the guy that said, look at Star Wars, we're 50 years ahead of that? Some aeronautical engineer.
Yeah. I think he gets a sci-fi wrong there. Star Wars is like in a galaxy long way back. No, a long time ago, galaxy far away, man.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot.
Maybe Star Trek.
Yeah.
But I'm a big Star Trek fan, and Gene Roddenberry, there's the whole Ancient Aliens really played it up bad, but there is a little bit of connection to him to a group that did like channel aliens and like believed in a galactic. Yes, they were called the Nine, and they believed in aliens, and they would have these like channel sessions. And Gene Roddenberry was friends with them and knew them, and possibly was there for some of these channeling sessions that involved talking about galactic federations and stuff like that.
Well,
did it influence Star Trek? I don't know.
Did you hear about the guy from Israel on December 8th, Haim Ashed, who I got friends in Tel Aviv. They tell me that Haim Ashed is like their version of Buzz Aldrin. Real respected guy. He ran Israel's space protection program for 30 years and then taught at university. And he said that the United States and Israel are in a treaty with the, quote, Galactic Federation.
Yes, I did hear this. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And these little tidbits, the pieces of the puzzle, we've had some big names come out lately to say things along these lines.
Avi Loeb.
Yeah. Paul Hellyer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, and then you got people that are doing contract work for the government, like Bigelow, and you have what's his name that was standing up there with them to the stars, who didn't say a word, but boy, I'd love to hear him talk. What's his name? Dang it. They had him at their whole big introductory thing for To the Stars, and he's the same guy was involved with Bob Lazar at Los Alamos. I cannot think of the physicist's name.
You're not talking about Chris Mellon or
no
Hal Puthoff, any of those
Hal
guys?
Puthoff. That's who I'm trying to. Yes, his name is tied to a lot of things.
Yeah,
and I'd love to have heard him talking to the stars. Like, we have Hal Puthoff here. Like, great. What does he got to say? Nothing. Oh,
nothing.
Because he should know a lot.
I bet he does.
Yeah, but he didn't say anything.
Just
got his name on the title. How much money? What check did they write him for that?
No kidding.
Or why? I mean, like he obviously has an interest, and he's been working on secret projects for a long time.
Hey,
love to know what he thinks.
Bigelow's new project?
Oh, about the afterlife?
Yes.
Yes.
You know about that, Erin?
No, tell me about this.
Bigelow's going to give away $1 million, broken up into 3 different winners, to people, someone that can come and provide proof of the afterlife. He lost his wife, Diana of 55 years. And I guess he's 76, 78, something like that, probably looking at his own mortality.
Exactly. I mean, he's got a lot of money, and the next thing to look at for him, he probably already knows the secret. As I already figured out the secret of aliens. I can't tell you people, but let's find out about the afterlife.
Yeah. I should have.
I had a lot of money. I'm more power to him. If I had a lot of money, I'd be doing it too.
Oh, I got $12 I could put toward it.
The question is, what constitutes as total proof?
Yeah.
What
That's a good question.
what are the drawing lines of what he considers total proof that he'd pay willing to pay out $1 million is what I want to know.
You know what? You can go online and look. He's got the all the parameters, all the rules contest rules
Oh,
rather.
wow. I wonder if
Online.
he's
I
right.
read them, and they were kind of interesting. I think 25,000 word limit or something. And,
I mean, because you could get I can give him some pretty amazing mediums that pull out even names of people, you know, that they should have no knowledge of. But is that proof of an afterlife? No, nope.
might be
It
proof
isn't.
psycho can psychic
It's
ability.
proof they're
maybe.
able to get psychic ability and able to pull information they shouldn't know. But does that mean that's still are they getting that from the afterlife? There's no. It's all subjective. There's no proof of that because it only comes from them.
Well,
I
and
think the
Houdini
NDE
and his wife.
experience. I'm sorry, Erin. Go ahead.
I was going to say that Houdini and his wife did the same thing when Houdini was, well, before he had died, he had told his wife, you know, and his friends, I've got a word, go to the mediums, see if they can pull it out, you know, and it never happened.
Never happened.
It might have happened, but she didn't believe it.
Mm.
There's a rumor along that lines.
Is there?
A couple of people tried to scam her over the years
Yeah.
and get the information, try to figure out what the secret was, and somebody figured it out
Yeah.
supposedly, and that ruined the whole thing. So that sucks for proof of the afterlife. But that's the thing, you know, the only way you're going to prove it is actually you pulled the Ghostbusters move and you're actually able to trap a ghost. You know, I'm serious. It's not trying to be facetious.
I agree.
You know, there's only one way of proving that to people because everything else is subjective. You're not good. You know, anybody can tear it apart. My ITC devices are not proof of an afterlife. Even if they give us responses that are clear as a day and know things they shouldn't know, doesn't mean that there's an afterlife. We could be tapping into something else we don't understand that has this information, but doesn't mean there's an afterlife.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I scared myself. I lost my sister about 2 years ago, and I was playing around with necrophonics, and I just said, "Hey, Shar, are you there?" And I swear she said, I heard in a woman's voice, "I am."
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Well, I heard it say the first time I started messing around with it and I wasn't recording. My grandmother had passed not long before I'd started experimenting with it. And I was really close to her. And, I said, "Grandma, if you're there, can you help me? You know, can you come through?" I was by myself and I heard my beautiful boy, which was the last word she
Whoa.
spoke to me.
Whoa.
And I broke down in tears and stopped. And
I would have too.
yeah. That, you know, you become more of a believer. There's something there to ITC. I at first was like totally a skeptic of it, like big time. People pull out the SB7 spirit box. I'm like, oh, that's so annoying. You just shut it off, you know. But doing EVP work, which is not with spirit box, is just on air recorded straight from the air, makes me think the two are very much related, though.
Oh, yeah.
You
You
know,
got
I
any-
don't know if you guys have heard anything, but over the last almost 2 hours now, there's been several whispers that I've heard through the show. So I don't know.
Wouldn't surprise me, but there are explanations of audio feedback that happen. I've been able to debunk that, but I have gotten audio come through on the show that we can't explain right through the audio feed, not from a spirit box.
I had a weird experience with Whitley Strieber. I was on Dreamland, and while we were talking, there was this weird tone in the background. And he said, because it was there the whole time we had the show. And he said, "I'm going to have my sound engineer look at that." I mean, how cool is that? Have your own sound engineer, right?
Right.
So he gave the file to a sound engineer. And this is true. You can ask him. There were two tones, and I don't understand really the science behind it, but the tone there was a tone, and then it exactly double that tone's
Oscillation.
was the next layer of tone.
Yeah.
So it was exactly double or
Harmonized.
something.
It was harmonized
That's the right word,
oscillation
yes.
between the two.
But
That's weird.
the weird thing was his sound engineer got the file early in the morning, went in and popped it in, and he has some kind of machine to analyze it, and took a reading off the machine, wrote it down, and then realized the machine hadn't been turned on.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you on
I
that.
don't know either. Yeah, that's crazy. It's like my TV turning on.
That's Whitley Strieber crazy.
Yeah,
There's a lot of craziness around him. Like I said, I read Communion before I ever read Incident at Devil's Den. And it's a great book. It totally is. I mean, but did not affect me like Incident at Devil's Den did.
Yeah. It was cathartic for me. I'm glad I did it.
I know you're trying to get me to write my own book, and
I am. It's a lot of work.
But so rewarding.
Yeah, Erin's written 2 books. Both are excellent.
yes, I love them. Well, I love the one. I've not read the other. I only read the
The
one.
other one, yeah, the other one's about it's more spiritual work, energy things, protection, boundaries, things like that. So much more practical workbook type of thing.
Well, we're coming up on an hour and a half.
Yeah, I got to get going because you hear my wife getting louder up there. That's
Yeah,
that's
I
her
do,
going.
yeah, I
It's
do. Hey, let me ask you, I want to give you a really cool introduction and help me out with this, will you? What would you like?
what for you to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm going to say, tonight we had Jason Bland from Paranormal Soup, listen to his show.
Whatever you come up with will be better than what I come up with. My introduction suck. I'm like stumbling all over my words when I try doing it live, Terry. You get to pre-plan it.
Oh,
You'll
yeah,
figure it
yeah,
out.
yeah. Actually, I like live. I prefer live. I
I
feel
do
energy when I'm on live, and I know
because
that
you
there's-
can't stop. You have to go. You got to do it.
Yes.
There's no like. Hold on, let's retake that. No,
Yeah.
that don't happen. You got to just talk.
Yep.
No dead air.
No dead air. No dead air bad. All right. Weird blue flash of light. I'm just trying to think of something you said that I could stick with the. I like that.
What?
Your statement about a weird blue flash of light.
So
When we're camping.
Is heat lightning blue?
I've had heat lightning up here. I don't remember. I think I've seen it kind of be blue, but this was such an intense, like blind me first. It wasn't like a flash, like a flashlight. It was faint, but it was just like all over. I'm like, okay, but I know heat lightning can make that kind of effect. He could have been right, but I mean,
I have never seen blue lightning. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm living in the wrong place, but I've lived in a lot of places, but I've never seen blue lightning in my life.
usually when I've had heat lightning, it's more purple. It's like a purple flash, not a blue.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. It was like, okay, I guess it's
What
different
was
color
this?
down here.
And this was just, you couldn't isolate a source. It was just all over the sky.
It was all
boom.
over. Yeah. Unlike the big flash of white light that came out of the forest, out of the mist, that came from
The house
floor
that went up in the air. Yeah.
Yeah. If there was it was right in a location where a house was.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, all these years later, I'm still just as clueless as I was back then. I just have a little more clues to things than I didn't know about back then. When it comes to alien abductions and UFO phenomenon and that, I was interested in it back then. I read Communion. I read Communion before that camping trip too. I'm saying, like, so I've been into alien abductions and all that stuff. So like part of me writes that off as like, oh, it's just my imagination from, X-Files and Whitley Strieber and Travis Walton.
Yep.
Mhm.
I don't know. Well, listen, we kept you long enough on a Sunday night. Is it Sunday night?
It's not Sunday.
Oh, it says
I think
Friday.
I'm
This
Friday
is
night.
night.
That's
You're
fine.
used to being on with me on Sundays.
That's right. It feels like Sunday, doesn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's good talking to you guys, and definitely, we got you coming back on the show soon. I know, and Erin, we got to get. I'm already, like I said, booked into August, but we should get you back on
Well,
the show.
yeah,
again.
put me down for September or something. So
Yeah, I'll get you a date. I got Nick Redfern
Yeah.
in September coming.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
He's got a new book on time travel coming out. So I'm like, when's it come out? He's like, in September. I'm like, can I book you in September? He's like, yes. I'm like, all right, cool.
Oh,
Get a
man,
free
that's
book?
a catch.
Yeah, I'm hoping I get a free book too.
You should.
Yeah.
I hope.
Demand it. Yeah.
He's giving me a number. I can't complain.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he didn't say anything about giving me this one. I'm like, come on, this is my favorite topic, time travel. Give me a free copy. Otherwise, I'll buy it. He knows I'll buy it if he doesn't give it to me.
Yeah. I buy them so I can give a review. Yeah.
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 All right, guys. It's been fun. Thank you.
Thank you so
Honored
much.
to be on here. And
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
I'll let me know when you put it out so I can share it.
I will.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I am
Good luck with
subscribed to
the
the channel, but YouTube is, even though I hit that little bell, it says, tell me when they do something new. Thank you. I'll hit it for channels like my friends, like Rob, his old City Vapors channel where he does his Weird Wednesday. I have it set to notify me when he goes live. Still doesn't on YouTube.
Doesn't do anything to me either. I've hit that bell lots of times. I've never got a notice one.
For a lot of things. Yeah. And they're supposed to. If you tell it, you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell, it's supposed to say, okay, tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me when they go live. It works for some things. It's like other things, no. For some
Yeah.
reason, it won't tell me about certain channels. I bet that happens with my channel.
Well, there we go back into that theory again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I set up a video game channel. I hit subscribe to it on my other channel. It tells me every time I post a video right away, boom, it pops up there because it's video games. But my old City Vapors, his weird Wednesday show, I have that never pops up and tells me it goes live.
Whoa. Go figure.
Interesting.
Metrics or algorithms or some stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
Freaking
my
YouTube.
Yeah.
All right, Jason. Thank you so much for being on our show.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jason. Appreciate you. Thanks for spending an hour and a half with us. And for those of you out there, please like and subscribe.
Yeah, talking with Jason over this last couple hours has been really mind opening, things that have been on my mind for a long time, as far as when do you have a regression? What is the time to choose to delve into these things that you may remember, you may not remember? And do you tell your friends? Do you approach your friends when you've had similar experiences and they've withdrawn? There's a lot of different factors to take into consideration. Are they going to take it well? Is it going to cause them psychological distress? And the same with you. If you're just curious about what happened in the past, maybe find a different way to delve into things instead of a regression, because maybe it's not something you need to wake up. My choice to go into regression the first time was specifically to heal my PTSD, and it worked wonderfully. After my regression, I was no longer afraid of the dark. I could sleep, and I slept well, and I was able to function normally again, as a good worky bee. I didn't have to call in sick because I wasn't sleeping at night because I was afraid. The second time I had a regression, it was much more of the curiosity moment. I want to see what happens, because it was like an excitement. The little flash of memory I had was of being excited about an experience. And so when I looked into that, I realized it was really not all that fun. What I had remembered upon regression was somewhat disturbing in some aspects. So just be mindful.
Yeah, there's got to be a reason why it's stuffed down in your subconscious.
Right. Exactly.
And Yvonne Smith did your regression, didn't she?
Yes, she worked with me on both of them, and in a way I learned my lesson. However, I gained really good information from the second regression. It was not the excitement that I had anticipated it would be. It was not fun.
Yeah. Oh, before we leave you, quick shout out. I'm going to be at Contact in the Desert this year virtually. So Victoria and Paul are working to put on a really, really good show. Avi Loeb is going to be present. So that's worth the price of admission alone. So check it out. Go to Contact in the Desert 2021 and look at the list of guests. It'll blow you away. It's just going to be, it's going to be in June. It's going to be an incredible show. So
that's going to be great. In June?
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Let's see what else. We've got shout outs to do. David for helping us with the editing of this video and putting us all up on all the different audio versions that we have. I know Spotify, I don't know the others that we're all up on.
We're on YouTube, Spotify. Are we on Anchor?
We are on Anchor. Yeah.
And
are we on Apple? I don't know if we're on Apple. I guess we should have looked at the list.
Wait a minute. I got the list somewhere.
You have the list?
We're all over the place. Look, just find us. Okay.
Find us. Just find us on Facebook. We're on Facebook. Yes. Thank you to David. Thank you to Tony Kane for the intro music that we have. Absolutely love it. And thank you to Gleewood and my mother for the outro music.
Thanks, Mom. We love it.
Yes. All right. Good evening to you all.
Good night.
Standing on the